Hi, how are you all doing? I just want to show you that you can get a power of attorney and declaration of representative. You can download this on the IRS.gov, and one of the options, it says why you're doing this, it says whistleblower. And so I am a whistleblower. I do know the truth. And here's your 1099 OID. There's the assumed name certificate you can do, because these are dead. This is a dead estate. This SKB trust. It's here's the application for award for original information, Form 211. You can do an advocate form, request for taxpayer advocate service assistance. That's your 911. Proceeds for broker and barter exchange, acquisition or abandonment of secured property. This is your 1099 a.c.c. For every year you made less than $400,000, the government owes you $5,380,000 a year. Here's the application for withholding certificate for dispositions by foreign persons of U.S. real property interest and treaty-based return position disclosures under section 6114 or 7701. So you can go on IRS.gov and you can download these. You see, download these forms on IRS.gov. Your ABC 1099 ABC 706 709, your 1099 DIV and OID. But I would suggest getting a good tax person to help you with this. These are some original ancient Hebrew alphabet letters that I did. Because truth is what makes you free. See, this is what they fill out on us, consent of surety. These are the forms. This is a 1414. They do 1414, 1418. Performance bonds 273, 274, or 275 right here. Here's one. This is a 1418 standard form. Performance bond, bit bonds. This is just wicked evil. The scripture says you're not to put mankind down as surety for debt, and you're not to pledge a man's life for you're not to be surety for another. So that all caps name, you're the surety holder over, and it's your estate, and they've been stealing it since the British Bankruptcy Act in 1933. That's under 28 U.S.C. Section 15 A.B.C. 2030 Proclamation of Roosevelt, which has no real standing in law, because, see, this is why the debt and inflation is going up. We need to claim the gold and silver, the silver shekel that Christ was betrayed for. So I'm going to read you some canon law, that I have wrote down. Do have a canon law book, and and you can go on Facebook. There's a woman, it's called Freedom Walkers, that has wrote down everything from the canon law Your SESKV or SESKVI trust, which is your birth certificate bond, is an all caps dead estate. Your born certificate, long form certificate, and you can find that on IRS.gov, was never given. So I'm going to read this here. Canon Law 2036, a SESKV trust, aka Fideikommissary Trust or Foreign Situs Trust, secret trust, temporary testamentary trust, created with Henry VIII of England in 1540 and updated by Charles II in 1666, where an estate may be effected for the benefit of one or more persons presumed lost or abandoned at sea and therefore assumed dead after 7 years. Additional presumptions by which said a trust may be formed were added in later statutes to include bankruptcies, minors, incompetency, mortgages, and private companies. Canon 2037. The original purpose and function of a SESKV trust was to form a temporary estate for the benefit of another because some event, state of affairs, or condition prevented them from claiming their status as living, competent, and present before a competent authority. Therefore, any claims, history, statutes, or arguments that deviate in terms of the origin and function of a SESKV trust as pronounced by these canons as false and automatically null and void. A SESKV trust may only exist for 7 years, being the traditional life expectancy of the state. Canon 2038. A beneficiary under a estate may be either a beneficiary or SESKV trust when a beneficiary loses direct benefit of any property of the higher estate placed in SESKV trust on their behalf. They do not own the SESKV trust and are only the beneficiary of what the trustees of the SESKV trust choose to provide for them. That's why you have to become your own trustee to get rid of the corporate trustees, especially if they're not going to fulfill any fiduciary or ministerial duty. Canon 2040. The trust corpus created SESKV is also known as the estate form from two Latin words, et statio, literally meaning by virtue of decree, statute, or judgment. However, as the estate is held in a temporary, not permanent trust, the corporate person as beneficiary is entitled only to equitable title and the use of the property rather than legal title, and therefore ownership of the property. Only the corporation, also known as body corporate, estate, and trust corpus and SESKV trust, possess valid legal personality. Because this legal is not lawful by any definition. You want to claim your lawful rights over this and to stop it and end it full cease and desist. Canon 2041. The property of any estate created through a temporary testamentary trust may be regarded as under SESK use by the corporate person, even if another name or description is used to define the type of trust or use. Therefore, SESK use is not a person but a right and therefore a form of property. Canon 2042 and 1534, prior to the first SESK Act 1540, Henry VIII declared the first SESKV type estate with the Act of Supremacy, which created the Crown Estate. In 1604, 70 years later, James I of England modified the estate as the Crown Union of Crowns. By the 18th century, the Crown was viewed as a company. However, by the 19th century, around 1814 onwards, upon the bankruptcy of the company, it became the fully private Crown Corporation controlled by European private banker families. Canon 2043. Since 1581, a second series of SESKV estates concerning the property of persons and rights which migrated to the United States for administration, including in 1651, the Act for Settlement of Ireland, 1652 to 50, which introduced the concept of settlements, enemies of the state, and restrictions of movement in states of emergency. Part 2 in 1861, the Emergency Powers Act. 1861, Part 2 in 1931, the Emergency Relief and Constructive Act. 1931 and 1932, and in Part 4 in 2001, the Patriot Act. 2001. See, in 1950, they had the Reorganization Plan number 26, where it's in Public Law, page 94 to page 564, where all of this power with the SESKV ran into our country with the unum sanctum corporis juris secundum, and they took these estates of private bankers, and it's against the real law. Canon 24, in 1591, a third series of a.c.c. estates concerning the property of soul, because the Vatican claims they own all the souls, all the land, all the gold, everything, and that's not true. No, they don't. And ecclesiastical rights, which migrated to the United States for administration, including in 1661 the Act of Settlement from 1661 to 62, and number 2 in 1871 the District of Columbia Act 1871, number 3 in 1941 the Lend-Lease Act, Canon 2045. And by 1850, the bankruptcy of the Crown and Bank of England by the Rothschilds Rockefellers, for the first time, the SKV Trust of the United Kingdom became assets placed in private banks, effectively becoming private trust or fidei commissary trust administered by commission guardians from 1835 in the Wills Act. These private trusts have also been considered secret trusts whose existence does not need to be divulged. Canon 2046, it goes on and on. Canon Law 2057, any Bellman administrative representative who does not fulfill their fiduciary or ministerial duty is to be removed from office and punished. So, you know, people, that this is fraud, what we have been under, and you have to claim your non-civilist rights, your non-Hague Convention international rights, non-citizen national sovereign rights, and born-given rights. I claim all that, okay? To undo this infringement on that estate, that all caps dead estate. I spoke about it in the last video called Book of Life, Record, Postal, Treasury, Private Bank, and I did a part 2. Read the descriptions in the bottom of my videos. They're full of a lot of laws and information. I love everyone, and I don't believe in slavery, and I want to stop and end all this. All crimes are commercial, 22 CFR Code of Federal Relations 72-11, and we have been under International Maritime Admiralty Sea laws under 22 CFR 92-12-13, and under United States Code Title 49, Section 1403, a 21-ton ship mortgage, red rum mortgages that they're killing people with on mankind's soul. So I am undoing all of this, and as I said, read the descriptions underneath my videos. It has more information, and may the truth make you free. And everyone needs to be loved and be forgiven. I want to be loved and be forgiven, so I offer everyone else my love and forgiveness. And I want all of the poverty and scarcity to come to an end and a stop, and all the racial wars and political wars and religious wars. Because see, it's like they said in Zeitgeist Addendum, if you listen to that, if we did not have all these racial wars, religious wars, and political wars, and if we did not have any poverty or scarcity, everyone was equal, everyone had food, clothing, and shelter, and all their needs met, we wouldn't have crime. We wouldn't have the need for police. We wouldn't have the need for this government. We would all live in peace and in harmony. And that's the way that it needs to be. We need to go back to the old way, to the way, the truth, and the life. You know, these public contractors, nothing against police officers. I know that they're just doing their job and paying their bills and feeding their families, and I've talked to them, and there's, I'm not saying that they're all bad, but, you know, they're not in their first, middle, and last name. They're in pseudonym monikers. They're a corporate entity, a private agency. And so is the CEO government that we've been under. And so you have to claim your private rights, and, you know, that's your de jure, sui juris, propria persona, demure rights to speak, and your writs, your rights. And, I'm no respecter of persons. We all have to get along, and I don't want these corporate fictions running the world and being tyrants and dictators over us.